Alright. Hi there, Lyndon Hosking here. Another episode of Boxing Deep Dive. Well, it's not really another episode because this is our first crack at it. It's a bit of our weekly show where we have little bit of fun. So I'm going to bring in my co-host here, Tazzy Brown, Peter Maniatis. How are we, guys?
Good to be back, Lyndon.
Now, this is a little bit left to centre here. We're going to sort of wing it on this show. I'll just explain a little bit what we're going to do. We've got the latest news in Australia and around the world. We've got a few fun segments later on, but more importantly, we've got some interviews lined up. And tonight's one is really good one to start off with, and that's the manager of Tim Tszyu, which is Glenn Jennings. So there's been plenty going on with Glenn at the moment. With Team Tszyu. So Glenn's going to fill us in on all the latest. So really excited to talk to Glenn. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, so really keen to see what he has to say. And don't fret, guys. We've all got different little segments we're going to do tonight, and I'm going to throw on yous. So let's just have a bit of fun with it and see how we go. So to get us started, let's get into a bit of news around the traps. Tazzie's our man on the ground as far as the Aussie boxing news goes. So, Tazzie, what do you got happening in the world of Australian boxing?
Well, I mean, Ebony Bridges just had a good win. I think it was her third fight in England on the big fight night the other night. Josh Warrington in lead, so Ebony Bridges won again, and she seems to be doing well. She cuts a bit of flack, but I mean, she's an Aussie girl over there doing it on the bigger stage under Eddie Hearn at Matchroom. So I think well done to her. That's great. Another women's boxing shotgun, Shannon O'Connell, probably pound for pound the best female boxer in Australia, signed the fight Taylor Robertson. So that's going to be huge on the Gold Coast. I think that's on the Tasman Fighters show. So that's huge. Shannon's a gun. While on the women's boxing, Christina Mousey Jacobs, who the WIBA super featherweight world champion, which was on my show back in March, she's got a very big fight coming up, and a very tough undefeated Queenslander. So I mean that's going to be that's going to be a great fight, and also that's on my show October 30th in Hobart, Tasmania. So I mean that's going to be huge. That's for the Australasian featherweight title, so that's down there. Jai Patea sounds like he could have a world title fight soon. IBF against Marios Briedis. I think Jai is now 20-0, and he's looking for the IBF world title. So I mean, I think it could be in Germany, I believe. That's going to be huge, or could even be in Queensland. Someone told me, but I mean, who knows with the borders and that. Cambosis versus Lopez. Geez, that's been back and forth. It's been put back many a times. There was times they were talking about, he was going to lose the belt to Lofafio, but it sounds like they're back going. They've said October 5th in New York, but it's been delayed already times, so I don't know if that's going to happen on that date, but let's hope so. I mean, George has moved his whole camp and his life over there, so he deserves to get that title shot. Whether he wins or loses, it doesn't really matter. He deserves the shot. He's a hungry young lion. He's done it the hard way, and I think he deserves the shot. Obviously, we're going to talk about Timmy Tszyu soon with Glenn, but I mean, it looks like he's going to be hopefully fighting Harrison. Tony Harrison's got 24 hours to confirm to the contract, but I believe it could be on the Gold Coast, and Tim's just been made mandatory for the WBO World Championship against Castana to believe early next year. So Castana's had a draw with Charlo. I thought he was unlucky not to win that fight. Castana, I think Tim beats him. I'm not just saying that because I'm close to Tim, but I believe he beats him. And but first of all, Harrison is a very tough fight, and I believe it's a good fight to take him to that next level. The Maloney boys obviously just got back from them boys. They just go over and they fight hard. They quarantine coming over back. They give their heart and soul to boxing. Jason Andrew. I was upset for Andrew not to get the win this time, but I believe Andrew is going to reset himself and aim for another world title shot soon. He's got great management in Tony Tolge, and Jason, mate, had a great win against a tough, a very live opponent. And I mean, Jason's going to get another shot, I believe, almost guaranteed. I mean, he fought against a greater Nui. He lost no respect there, losing to that. Probably the pound for pound top 2, top 3 fighter. So Jace, man, Andrew Maloney are always in Australian boxing news because they're actually one of the only ones that go over there and do it for real. So utmost respect for them. Look, it's tough on the front at the moment due to COVID. There's not a lot happening. Sydney's closed down. Victoria's closed down. Angelo Carlo just had a great show on the weekend. So, he's got some good boys, and Dempsey McKean's over there sparring Anthony Joshua. So there's a bit to be said. It seems like Queensland is pretty much a hub of boxing.
Yeah, there's been some promoters out there that have really been doing great things and sort of powering through the whole COVID situation. So you've got to take your hats off to guys like Angelo DiCarlo up there who's doing great things. I think Steve Della had a show up there last week as well. So you've got to take your hat off to those guys.
And also Brendan Smith.
Brendan
Smith and Toowoomba had a show. I also want to mention too, so back to my show as well, Beck Hawker is the girl's name, undefeated Australian champion. She's fighting Mousy Jacobs. That's going to be an absolute war. And it's my second show for the year in Hobart, Tasmania. So, look, there's a bit going on, but, we're a bit behind the eight ball. We've got one of the best promoters in the country on here with us, Peter Maniatis. Obviously he can't do much at the moment due to the restrictions, but, I'm sure once he gets up and running, he'll be back to doing what he does best. And, Brian Amatruda as well, and a lot of the guys in Melbourne. We've got some great promoters in this country. And Lyndon, you're on probably vacation at the moment, mate, in Vegas. But,
you'll be back doing your YouTube shows, mate.
You'll be back doing your thing soon, mate. So, look, we've got some good guys in the sport, and let's hope we can get back up and running once COVID sort of, fucks off.
Yeah, and of course there's the biggest sort of promoters out there, of course, Tasman Fighters, who are doing great things. Dean Events are doing great things. And, of course, probably the biggest in Australia at the moment is Matt and George Rose from No Limit Promotions. And it's probably a nice little segue into introducing our first guest because he's right at the forefront of No Limit Promotions. And I speak of Glenn Jennings. Welcome, Glenn.
G'day, fellas. Great to join you.
Yep, thanks for being on, mate. It's a little bit of a lag there, but I think we can see you're okay. That's the main thing, mate. Plenty going on in the world of Team Tszyu too at the moment.
Well, there is, mate. It's been one of those weeks, and as you know, we've been mandated now for the WBO, which is a wonderful achievement in a pretty short time for Tim, going into his 20th fight. And on the back of that, we've decided that. We know full well that the Castano fight will probably be March, April next year. So rather than sit around and wait, we're going to plough on and have a fight in November. And there was some news about that last night.
Yeah, we saw that, Glenn. I think they had 24 hours notice, 24 hours to agree to the contract. Is there any latest news, or we're just going to sit and wait and just see what the response is?
Well, no, you guys get the exclusive on that. Tony Harrison failed to sign within the 24 hours. So it's disappointing. It doesn't surprise me. It tends to be the way boxing is nowadays. We literally spent 5 weeks on Harrison and all positive, no problem, all good, and then suddenly no. So you just roll with it nowadays. So we're going to move on and... we have plenty of other options out there, some very, very good fighters who had showed interest that we'll now pick the baton back up on and see what happens.
Hi, Glenn. How are you, mate?
Tazzie, I'm well, mate. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you too, my friend. Obviously, you know how close I'm to Tim and, and all the family, mate. What was the main reason? Was it the fear of quarantine and all that, or just negotiations broke down at the last stage?
Mate, we don't really have a complete grasp on it, to be honest. The quarantine wasn't an issue for his team. They were quite happy. They were happy with the offer, the purse. Everything was bubbling along quite well, and we'd moved to the stage where we were getting all the information, relevant information to go forward for visas and the likes, and things went quiet, and we were really struggling to get necessary information in the right time frame. And so when the heat was applied that we needed it, in a very short time frame, it all became too hard. And so, Manny came to me with it, and I said, look, we can't. There has to be a line in the sand on any of these things. As disappointing as it is, you've got to then say, okay, let's move on to the next option. And there's some very good options available.
You mentioned the next option. Glenn, what are some of the names available? There's also a Japanese boxer that was mentioned.
Yes, Pete. There's well, in actual fact, whilst we were waiting in that 24-hour window for Harrison, we sent offers out to three others: the Japanese fighter Inoue, Sergio Garcia, and Tyrade Gachet, all highly ranked within different associations, but all great fighters. Gachet's an American. He's with PBC. He's only been beaten by Erickson Lubin and Eris Lara. So a very handy fighter, former Olympian. Sergio Garcia, 33-0 out of Spain. A little bit harder to get the Spanish to Australia, which is an issue. And of course the Japanese guy as well, Inoue. So yeah, interesting, mate. We've given them a very, very short lead on this because we're 9 weeks away from the fight date in November. And No Limit have literally exhausted everything they could with Harrison. So only in the last hour or so, Matty and I had the conversation. And so, yeah, we've drawn a line in the sand, mate, and Harrison's in the rearview mirror.
Is Inoue with Mr. Honda, the promoter group Mr. Honda? Is there any relation to the monster Inoue?
I'm not sure, Pete. It's all fairly new in terms of these three guys getting an opportunity to have a crack at the now number one mandated fighter. So I think that's an interesting comment. The fact that it turns the whole thing. Like this is an opportunity for all of these other fighters to fight the number one guy who's mandated for a world title, not in reverse as it normally is. So we really believe that Tony Harrison would take that with two hands, because what other opportunities do you have when you're a PBC fighter and the two fighters above you in your weight division are all with PBC? So it was a great opportunity and very disappointing. And I still don't understand it, boys. I don't get that. You're either a fighter that wants to, take on the best, or you're not. And we're all disappointed. But as far as who handles Inoue, I don't know if it's Mr. Honda. Matty Rose would know that. And I'm not sure if he's a relation to the other Inoue. But either way, any one of those three guys, we'd be happy to get into the ring with Tim. And to be absolutely frank, and Tim and I had this discussion this afternoon, we don't care who's opposite him. We just don't. We just want a very, very good top five fighter to test Tim before we go into that world title mandate early next year.
Glenn, how hard has it been with the whole COVID situation, not only just with the opponents and lining fights up and obviously the whole shit fight that goes with trying to bring him and everything, but also the training? How has that affected? Because I know Tim's probably had 2 or 3 fights since the COVID situation's been in. How hard is it with the training situation as well as actually getting opponents to fight?
Oh, look, we've been very, very fortunate that No Limits went full steam ahead right through COVID. We had 2 stadium fights and we've had 2 indoor venue fights, all of which were great successes. But yeah, look, it's a creation of a problem for everyone in our industry. But Timmy's in a red zone in Sydney, unfortunately, in full lockdown. We did get some exemptions that allow him to train. So it's business as usual, head down, ass up. And all I tell Tim is, you don't worry about the politics and the business side of it. Matt and I will take care of that. We will have you in the ring middle of November for this fight, and it'll be a very highly ranked opponent. And Timmy's one of those exceptional athletes that it doesn't bother him. He's just focusing on what he's got to do with Igor. We've got some good sparring in Sydney, and we're looking now at trying to get exemptions to move our team interstate to increase the sparring leading up to the fight date, which most likely will be in Queensland at this stage.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
Well, it's a full credit.
Yeah. Go ahead,
It's a full credit to your team, Glenn. You've always been the most professional outfit. Yourself and Igor, who's one of the most underrated trainers in the country. Tim's always said from day one he wants only the best. Tim only wants the best from day one. He told me that, and I mean he took on everyone he put in front of him. The way you guys keep all that business side away from him is so great, because he's concentrating on training. To have the structure with you guys that you have, it's one of the reasons, besides his hard work and talent, you've got a great team. And obviously between yourself and Matty, you've just got the runs on the board. You've moved through all last year and this year to get into where he is now. And it's just a credit to all you guys because, I mean, he's now one fight away from a world title, which I believe he wins. I'm not just saying it because he's a friend of mine. I believe that he beats Castana, and I believe that the sky is a limit for Tim because he wants it that bad. And people don't understand how when he's in there with you, he's a bad man. He's well spoken on the outside of the ring, mate, but he wants to do damage.
Yeah, thanks, Tazzy. Much appreciated, mate. Look, it is a business. People need to understand that boxing at this level becomes a business, and so everything that we decide on has to be in the best interest of the fighter. That's first and foremost, and always looking to move forward to enhance his position for the next fight. What comes with Timmy's rankings at 1 and 2 and right up there in the top 5 of all these associations today is that every fight's a risk. It's all risk and reward now. So there's nobody left for Tim. He's only going to be fighting guys that are either just below him. There's not many above him, but that's the reality of where we're at. So the Australian boxing public really have a wonderful window now to look forward to seeing Tim tested against the very best in the world. And I just find it a little bit interesting that the two of the big names to date that we were attempting to get to fight Tim in November chose not to. And I think that might just come down to the fact that he's number one for a reason. And like you said, Tazzy, once he gets in the ring, it's a different ball game. So we're very excited. We're very confident. We look forward to the WBO world title next year. But in the meantime, a lot of people have said, gee, that's a big risk you guys are taking, putting Tim into a sort of some call it a warm-up fight. We certainly don't. There's no warm-up fights at this level. But to take a fight on prior to the world title, well, for some fighters and teams, maybe. But for this team, we don't sit and wait. We don't want to be dictated to by others as to when we fight. So Timmy puts it all on the line in November, and it will be a very tough fight. As to who it'll be, guys, I'll be happy to come back on and tell you as soon as I know.
You're down if you do, and you're down if you don't. Sorry, Pete, I was just going to say down if you do, and you're down if you don't. If you don't take a credible opponent, you get slammed. But if you do take a credible opponent, this is in the meantime, then you almost get slammed as what are you doing, don't you? So it's a really no-win situation sometimes.
Yeah, look, I think Pete Maniatis will understand this better than anyone. And you, Lyndon, you've promoted. It's a double-edged sword. And the reality is that people will be... you're never going to please everybody. My job simply is to facilitate and present the best deal that I can to Tim, both from a business and a professional career moving forward. I don't get too involved in any of the noise that surrounds boxing because you'd never get anywhere. You'd be too scared to do anything. But the reality is for us that Timmy's now mandated. We have an envelope with a document in it from the WBO that's basically it's a free ticket to a world title. And he deserves that. He's worked hard. It'll be his 20th fight, so it's early in his professional career. And we're very confident, and Igor's very confident that come March next year, again, Castano, Charlo, doesn't matter to us who's standing opposite Tim. They all are high-class opponents, and it really doesn't matter who's opposite him.
Go ahead, Pete.
Glenn, you mentioned the red zone. Now, obviously with COVID and new restrictions opening up, Tim will need to be vaccinated. I'm told he's already got his first jab, or has he already had his second jab? Has the team been vaccinated as well in order to be able to travel? Because as fans, that's another thing we're going to have to go through, vaccination passports.
Yes, yeah, very good point, Pete. We, Timmy and I finish our second vaccine this Sunday, and Igor as well. So Boris is already done. And that's our core group that would travel. Mark Gambin, our cut man, is already done. So, yeah, we'll be all good to go from this Sunday, fully vaccinated. And so that's a key part nowadays with the politics of opening up and doing it in a manner safely. We have had some experience already with quarantining ourselves during the Jeff Horn fight. We spent 7 weeks up in Queensland, keeping very close to our own little arrangement. COVID was raised its ugly head around that time too. So we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we do the right thing and deliver a safe event. Matty Rose and his team are working with our Dr. Bill on quarantine protocol for the event. So whilst I let them run with that and we focus on the business of Tim alone, I think that's an important point, that at this level, to manage a fighter, that's what I do. To get involved in the promotions, that's not what I do. They specialise, and we've engaged No Limits contractually to look after us. So all I do is make sure that our little team is 100% ready, and that our group gives Tim the greatest opportunity to perform at the highest level.
Glenn, has there been
Mentioned
any
before,
side effects?
sorry, Peter, with Igor, I mean, look, I think Tim's, each fight, he gets better and better. He just improves. And I know Igor obviously works on different things all the time to get him ready. He you know, to see a fighter, when you see someone improve each fight, it really tells me a lot about someone. I mean, look, Canelo gets better each fight. I mean, Tim's like that. He's very like, you know, improves each fight, looks stronger each fight. His body's changed with the strength and conditioning he's been doing for the last couple of years. I mean, you know, how much has that sort of helped? Obviously, just each time he just gets that bit better and better in each training camp. And I guess it'd be hard to find sparring because, I mean, I guess he peaks at the right time each time.
Yeah, look, we're very, very lucky that Igor is our coach. It's very much a small family group. We've been together from back in Costa's days. That in itself, having been there and seen the good, bad and the ugly of professional boxing at this level, gives us a head start on a lot of these other teams. So we already know what's in store. We already know what's ahead. We also know and are well versed in how to best protect our fighter to give him the very best opportunities. And Igor's one of those very quietly spoken guys that just delivers the goods every time. Timmy trusts him implicitly. They have a great relationship. Igor is a very, very hard man. And unless Tim performs to Igor's standards, God help Tim, let me tell you. Our camps are very, very intense. Tazzy, you know this. You've seen it. If Igor's not happy, Igor's not happy, and neither is Grandpa. And Tim understands that. So
Papa Boris, the boss.
Yeah, I think the improvement comes along from the fact that there is a degree of respect amongst all of us, and we all have a role to play, and we allow each other the comfort and the support to do that.
Yeah, you're a great team, mate. You all gel together. Sorry, Pete, you go, mate.
Wrap up, has there been any adverse effects with the vaccine and the immunisation? Because we hear so many things online, we don't know what to believe. I mean, I've been fully vaccinated. I've had the double jab. I got 0 side effects. But just some of the stuff that you see online, what have you got to add to that with your team being vaccinated? Any side effects at all?
I can honestly tell you that the 5 of us have had no side effects. So now we've got 2 that are fully vaccinated and 3 that are going to be finalised on Sunday. So God giving, all going well on Sunday, there won't be any problems, Pete. But on the back of the first one, no issues at all. And it didn't stop the training. Timmy continued on. He's deep into his sparring. It's coming along beautifully, and I'm just very happy. At 9 weeks out, considering we don't spar for the last 2, Timmy's got effectively 7 more weeks of hard preparation. So we're treating every fight that we go into now as a world title level fight, and everything's stepped up to that level. So there's no going back for us now, boys. It's all go, and we're very excited about November. And I know the boys at No Limits, Matt and George, they've been in Queensland now for 9 weeks putting this together. Matty was a bit shattered this afternoon over the Harrison thing, but we dust ourselves off. This is the way it is in international boxing, and it throws me back to Costa. It hasn't changed much in 30 years, Pete. I can tell you it's the same back and forth dramas that you have when you're negotiating across the other side of the world. But we will stick to our guns and we will bring this fight to Australia. I can't guarantee after that what will happen because world title level tends to attract overseas. But one of our backbones of what we said right from day one was we would travel Tim throughout Australia, and we did that, and we were fortunate to team up with Lyndon in Bendigo. We've done a lot of regionals. We've got great support all over the country, and the next step for us will be to travel, and we're prepared to travel now. We were quite prepared to travel for Tony Harrison if that became a big issue. Clearly that didn't. It never got to that. So we're moving on, and we're going to focus on bringing one of those high-enders to Australia as a thank you to everyone in Australia, all our support, Fox, our promoters, all of our sponsors, everybody, and these wonderful fans of which Tim has an amazing amount of. This could be our last one in Australia. We hope not, but once you get to a world title, we can't guarantee any further home soil fights.
Glenn, I've got one more thing for you before we let you go. After the incredible ride that you experienced years ago, did you ever think in your wildest dreams you'd be repeating it with Tim?
Look, honestly, I didn't. I stayed close with the boys when Kostya moved back to Russia. I didn't believe Timmy was going to go pro, and he's said this. This is not new news. He was doing other things and enjoying life, and Nikita was at university and he's finishing his degree. So I just was happy for them in their choice, and they were in a good place. And then I heard that Timmy was back in the gym, and I had a couple of little discussions about that. And then Natasha rang me in November of 2016 and said, could I go and have lunch with him? And it was, for me, I didn't even know then. It was a surprise when I got there. It was just Natasha and Tim, and we had lunch, and Tim asked me would I help him and guide him through and manage his career. And so I simply asked him one question, and I'm glad I did. I said, why are you doing this? And his response was, I really feel in my heart a fire just to see how good I can be. And that was the right answer. There was nothing about his dad. There was nothing about legacy. It was always about him and wanting to test himself. And Igor had given him the go-ahead. And so we shook hands that day and the adventure started. And I'm very, very blessed, mate. I can honestly say I'm blessed to be a part of it. I'm glad I have the opportunity to look after Tim and take care of everything to make sure that when he does finish his career, that he'll be very, very well placed to enjoy the rest of his life.
Well, mate, I can tell you that the whole of Australia is certainly behind you. You're doing an unbelievable job with Tim. I think, from a point of view of what you've done with him, I think it was a great master stroke in what you did early in his career by taking him all around the country. And obviously we had him in Bendigo in 2018. I think that's played a massive part in the popularity that he's gathered. And, mate, we wish you all the best, and can't wait to see what's next for Team Tszyu too.
Well, thank you, fellas, and congratulations to you guys on your new show. I've enjoyed it. I've watched every episode.
Good stuff.
Sat back and had a listen, and it's terrific. It's terrific that we've got, three, I would call esteemed guys commenting about our sport and taking on issues that a lot won't. I think that's a real good point, and something I look forward to being part of with you guys, should you ever want to have another chat. All the best.
Certainly will, mate. Thanks again.
Thanks,
all
Glenn.
the best to everyone in the Tszyu family, Timmy, everyone else. Glenn, all the best, brother.
I'll pass it on from all of you guys. Much appreciated. And thanks
mate.
for your support. We really appreciate it.
All right, well, that was Glenn Jennings. So big thank you to Glenn. What a man, eh? He's just he's a true gentleman, and he's doing an incredible job with Tim. So all the very best, and as I said, we can't wait to see what's new for the Tszyu team. So, and Tazzy, you've sort of known Tim for a while. I mean, explain a little bit about your relationship with Tim over the last couple of years or few years.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've known Tim since he was 2 years old. I mean, I was blessed in my career to train with Johnny Lewis at Newtown Police Boys Club with the likes of, his dad Costa Tszyu at the time, Justin Rousseau, and Jeff Fennick was in and out, obviously. And, Costa was he was undefeated at the time. He was the IBF champion before he lost to Vince Phillips. But Tim was running around as a little kid, mate. So I've known him from that time. We rekindled in Russia in 2017 when I was visiting his dad, and Costa said, Tim arrives today. And I said, great. So he surprised him, and then me and Tim went out for 2 weeks, running around Moscow together, and he was there training with his dad. So we rekindled. We've been tight as ever since. I usually visit him regularly before COVID. I've been to most of his fights. We talk, at least probably once a fortnight or once a week. So look, I've seen him move forward each fight, his professionalism, and he's just such a genuine guy. Like, he's actually a humble, very humble kid. He's got he's just a beautiful person. And as his family is too, his mother, Costa, his partner, Alex, They're good people, and as I said, look, he's just gone on his own path now. He's not Costa Tszyu's son. He's Tim Tszyu, like he said when he beat Horn. I think he's resurged boxing again in Australia. Mm-hmm. And like you said, Lyndon, fighting around Australia at different shows, it built up a good fan base, and that's what his dad used to do as well. Mm-hmm. I believe, look, I had a comment with a bloke today. He said, too soon to be fighting the likes of Harrison and Castano. I said, mate, he's daring to be great. He's daring to do. He's putting it all on the line. He's not in this a player, and he's number one in the world right now. What do you do when you're number one? That means that you don't care about anyone. So he wants it. And, mate, full credit to him. I believe he can do it. And, it's going to be great to see. It's exciting times ahead to see Tim conquer the world.
For sure, mate. And, Pete, I was just going to say, we were lucky enough to co-promote his fight in Bendigo back in 2018. And, unfortunately, the fight only went about 2 minutes. But how good was it, to have the team? I just couldn't believe how tight-knit and how small the team was. But it wasn't, I'm sure it's a lot bigger now. That's what happens with boxing. But what really struck me is that they were a really small but very, very tight-knit team. And if you happen to get in their little circle of trust, it was a big thing, wasn't it? Because I was probably envisioning the whole Tszyu entourage, but it just certainly wasn't that way. And I think Glenn's probably one of the main reasons for that.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. Also, Andrew Maloney was on the card
right.
against Conception in a world title.
In hindsight, mate, it was a killer card, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a killer card. And, Tim looked destructive that night. It was, he had a durable Argentinian opponent in front of him, and he did what he had to do. And, look, exciting times ahead. Let's wait and see. There's lots of chapters to be written on Tim, I feel.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Well, let's get on to the rest of the show, and we've got some a little bit of the fun stuff coming up. Interesting to see what the feedback is on this, but I just want to firstly sort of continue on from where you were, Tazzy. You had the Aussie news before. I just want to continue on with the Aussie side of things. Now, I've compiled a current Australian top 10. I know we've done the all-time top 10 a couple of weeks ago, but I just want to have a current top 10. Just keep an eye on it. Now, I've actually done this without consulting you guys because I just couldn't be bothered with the arguments, to be honest. So I've actually compiled the top 10. I'm really interested to see what you guys think. I'll put it up here and we can have a bit of a discussion about it. I've got Tim Tszyu at number 1. 2 is Jason Maloney. 3 is George Cambosis. 4 is Andrew Maloney. 5 is Jai Opataya. 6 is Brock Jarvis. 7 is Liam Paro. 8 is Shannon O'Connell, 9 is Liam Wilson, and 10 is Michael Zarafa. So before I let you guys sort of chime in with your opinions, just probably a couple of little caveats there. I think, obviously, if the George Cambosis fight actually comes off, and who knows what's going to happen there, I think if he beats Lopez, I think he probably goes to the top, if not number 2. I think he's probably on a par with Tim, but if anything, I might just sort of put him into that number 1 spot. Jai Opataya, if he wins his world title fight, will probably jump into the top 3 as well. And I think Michael Zarafa probably could be a little bit higher, but the fact that he's only had 1 fight since he lost to the Jeff Horn a couple of years ago against our faded Anthony Mundine, I think that's why I've put him at number 10. So interested to hear what you guys have to say there, guys. Have I missed anyone? Have I got someone too high? I know we've got to be careful because we know most of these people, but what are your thoughts there, Tazzy?
Yeah, no, it's a good list. I mean, the top 4 I agree with. I mean, Andrew Maloney could have, he was unlucky not to get his world title back with that cut eye, and then he went back again, and he's unlucky not to get it. But I mean, he's up in that class on the main stage. Jason obviously won his last 2 fights after fighting the Great Anui, so I can see why you have him in front there. Cambosis, definitely deserves to be there. I mean, if he wins, well then, if he beats Lopez, mate, he's going down as one of the best we've ever had.
That's right.
Timmy Tszyu, number 1, obviously. That's no argument. Jai Opataya, mate, look, fair call. Mate, Jai's always been a talent. I remember him when he was an Olympian, when he was an amateur. And if he gets a world title shot, great there. Brock Jarvis is a phenomenon, trained by my good friend Jeff Fennick. That's a good call, mate. Liam Paro, very good fighter with the DeCarlos. He just keeps getting better and better. I think he's number 2, or he's up there on the world rankings. Shannon O'Connell, well, she's she's just a beast, mate. She keeps getting better and better, and
I think she tends to get forgotten a little bit about when you do these top 10 lists.
Yeah,
She
I
tends to get
know.
forgotten
Fair
about.
call, mate. She's a great fighter. Liam Wilson, look, great fighter, mate. Obviously, he was destroying everyone. I'm not sure him being there though now since that loss, and
Who would you have in front of him?
Don't know. Look, it's a tough one, mate. So I'm not saying he shouldn't be there. He's a great fighter,
Yeah.
mate, and he'll come back from that loss. He's a hungry young guy, and he's got bad intentions. Look, off the top of my head right now, no one stands out to me really. So I'm not saying he shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And Michael as well. Obviously he's still world ranked, mate, and obviously still an elite fighter, obviously. So look, I'm not saying no one really jobs the mind right now. I guess no one's doing too much.
I've just lumped it on you, haven't I? So I haven't given you any notice whatsoever. So
obviously you haven't got Hooney, which I don't disagree with yet.
I was tempted.
He's got potential to burn. Geez, Peter, look, I mean, who is else well ranked at the moment doing something in Australian boxing?
You probably got Dempsey McKean's probably the other one that was probably a bit stiff. What are your thoughts, Pete?
I think Farah Chevalier for one. He beat Blake Caporello after a 4-year exit on the couch. Beat him in his own backyard and beat him comfortably. If he's not in the top 10, I think there's something wrong. In my personal opinion. He's 12-1, and if you can go and beat Blake Caporello in his own backyard, who no one else could beat in
Australia. Don't hold back,
Pete.
Let me have it.
The top 10. No, but you don't want me to muck around, do you? You don't want me to...
You'll be chucking your boy Joel...
Pacquiao in there.
Your boy Joel Pacquiao in there as well.
No, I manage Ferris. I'm not saying it because I manage Ferris. I'm saying it because I know he went into someone's backyard and he beat the world number 3. Blake's the hardest guy in the world in Australia to beat.
He is quality fighter.
He did that quite comfortably. Not to make the top 10 after a 4.5-year hiatus. I would put him in.
Come on, Lyndon. What are you doing, Lyndon?
Look, but hey, look, it's a fair call. And just on the Justice Hooney thing as well, I was very tempted to put him in even after 5 fights.
How many of those guys in there have beaten a top 10 world-rated fighter that you got in your top 10? How many can you tell me? Let's just go by stats. How many have beaten a top 10 fighter?
Probably, Tim, I suppose. Jason. Well, Jason have to, and Andrew. I mean, they'd have to be in Cambosis. That's probably about it, really. Shannon, of course.
Cambosis obviously has. Cambosis, Selby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but good point, Pete. It's a fair point. Bloody oath. Who else, guys? Who else is well ranked at the moment?
That's a good call, mate. I know there's little. Is it Louisa Horton? Sorry, I hope I haven't got her name wrong. Little light flyweight won the WBO title a couple of years ago, I think. But the problem is probably a little bit out of sight, out of mind. And unfortunately, probably the case with Shannon. The girls that haven't really been recognised probably. But I had no hesitation in putting her in there because she's just got the runs on the board. So, and as I said, I thought. Jai might be a little bit more based on potential rather than what he's actually achieved, but I just think he's a phenomenal talent. I just think he's a legitimate world-class fighter. And
who's that then?
Jai Pacquiao. I just think he's all class, and I just think he's
of course.
very talented fighter. And of course, we all know about the twins and George and Tim. I mean, they're just a cut above, and Brock's probably more potential at the moment, but I think he's destined for big thing. Liam Parrow could be a star. Liam Wilson, he was probably overmatched in his last fight, but look, sometimes you don't know until until it's too late when you're in there. He's a potential star as well, and Zarafa's he's an established guy.
Of course, he's a great fighter.
But I think, as I said with Zarafa, the fact that he hasn't fought, he's had that one fight in 2 years since he lost to Jeff, and let's probably not talk too much about the fight with Anthony Mundine. I think the better it's quickly it's forgotten, the better. But look, he's been in there with some of the best fighters in the world as well. I've got a lot of respect for Michael, and it's just really a shame he didn't get that fight with Tim, which would have really been a defining fight for him. But let's put it up on a weekly basis. I'm happy to debate. Happy to hear some comments from anyone else out there.
No, Jeff
1 second, mate. Yep. Sorry.
No, Jeff Hearns, you may as well say he's retired, I reckon, Pete. I love Jeff, but I've pretty much put a fork in him, unfortunately. And I hope he doesn't fight again. He's got a lovely family. He's achieved a lot. Hopefully he's got a fair bit of coin put away, and I just hope he retires because I don't want him to come back for the wrong reasons. So, so I've left Jeff out.
I've got one for you, boys. I've got one.
Mm-hmm.
he's faced everyone lately and pretty much walked through everyone. Bruno,
Yeah.
Marino.
Yeah, good call. Yep.
He's beat McKenzie. He almost had Flemo. It was a cut eye. It got stopped. He had one win over Belil Dib. Belil Dib got him. He's the only person to beat him in Australia.
Yeah.
He beat who else did he?
Kai McKenzie, yeah.
A good fighter he beat. Yeah, before Kai McKenzie even though. He beat Branca.
Joel Branca. Joel Branca.
Yeah, he beat Branca. He almost had, gave Flemo a really good go.
Yeah,
stopped
Belil
early.
Yep.
Someone else, there's another scalp though, is another good fighter. Nathaniel Mate, he beat the future bloody this and that everyone was going on about.
Yeah.
Mate, Bruno was a gun, mate, a gun. You should have had him in there, mate.
Well, apologies to Bruno.
What about Billy Dib? Billy the Kid Dib.
I think Billy's past his prime. I think I know we had a fight not long ago, but I think we've probably really got to put the focus on these sort of guys. We love Billy. He was a great fighter.
I love Billy. He's a good friend of mine. He's a great ex-world champion. He's going to be a Hall of Famer in Australian boxing. But I think active-wise at the moment, and all that stuff. But I mean, he's obviously for what he's done.
What about your man Hardman?
I was very tempted to look. I
was
very and I'm sure I'll hear all about this by somebody. But no, look, Isaac Hardman's probably my most favourite fighter in Australia at the moment. I just love the way he goes about it. I love his whole character. I love the way he interacts with his opponents, the commentators, the crowd. I just think he's a great asset to Australian boxing. And I was tempted to put him in, but I would like to see him, obviously, with a fight with Zarafa, and hopefully it happens. That would probably tip him in. And look, you could probably make an argument. Paul Fleming's probably another one as well. But look, there's only 10 spots to be had, and maybe, I'm sure we'll hear all about it from some of the comments out there of what a peanut I am for the rankings, but I'll take it on board and we will do it on a weekly basis.
No, well, what I think, good point, Peter, with Hardman, but I think you really should be known internationally, not just beating domestic fighters. So I think the list is fairly good because you've got most of the international guys, especially in the top half, that are well ranked and fought overseas. So not too bad. I would have had Bruno in there. I would have probably took someone out. I won't say who I'll take out, but I would have had Bruno in there, I reckon. Okay.
All right. No worries. No, it sounds good, guys. Well, we could debate about this all night, and I'm sure we're going to hear all about it from some comments out there. But look, I just think the bottom line is I can't remember the last time Australian boxing was so healthy. And if you add on that Harry Garside, who just won the
I don't agree with that at all, Lyndon.
You don't?
No, that's a ridiculous comment. No disrespect to you.
It's never been all healthier.
Or I don't know if you've been paying attention to professional boxing, but I mean, this era is nothing compared to eras of the past, mate.
What eras are you talking about?
Talking with Shannon Taylor was destroying people, and they'd love more to do. Justin Rousseau, Costa Tszyu, coming off the Harden, Fennec, mate. They were doing bloody. Even Lincoln Reynolds, guys like that fighting for Aussie titles, mate. It's not the strongest, mate.
But these guys are all on the world stage, not just national. These are all world stage.
Only because things are easier now. Things are easier now. All these little belts that you get, mate. I disagree, mate. I don't know about you, Pete. Oh, that's a big call.
So you don't think the likes of the Maloney boys, Tim Tszyu and Cambosis measured up with the Shannon Taylors and out of the world? You don't, and Justin Rousels?
That's two fighters. Yeah, they do. Of course they do. But, mate, with the Bill Morty and everything that was going on back then in the 90s and late 80s, mate, I don't think it's in a better way. No.
Okay.
You had
it's only my opinion.
Paul Briggs was good back then as well. Look, it's not fair to compare eras. It's the
same
I suppose, in AFL football.
What about the Team Fennec days when Team Jeff Fennec had about 10 world champions in his gym?
It was Nato Hamden and
Victor Chinny and Sakio Bika.
Hussein, Victor Chin. Yeah, but Sakio Bika, look, it's not fair to compare eras. That's a good list, Lyndon. You've done well. You've really done your homework in it, and you can't. I mean, when I do a list, I do a male and female. I don't combine, but you've obviously gone and made it a unisex list, and that's good as well. But it just chops out.
Pound for pound, Australian top 10. So anyway, we can argue about it all night, but that's my list anyway. So let's just quickly go on to the world news. Pete, I know there's probably not a lot sort of going on out there at the moment, but what's the latest with some of the major things happening around the world?
Look, Oscar De La Hoya tested positive for COVID, and apparently he said he had 2 shots, but apparently now it's been said that he only had the 1 shot, needed to do his second shot, so he's out of the fight. And Evander Holyfield takes his spot up against Vitor Belfort. This is an interesting fight. Holyfield hasn't fought for 10 years. The commentator's going to be Donald Trump, so that'll make you happy, Lyndon. All we need is Pelosi as a timekeeper. We should get Nancy Pelosi as a timekeeper and make it a real nice circus.
Joe Biden as a referee, that'd top it off, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but look, it's interesting that, they can get Donald Trump as a commentator. And Holyfield getting close to 59 years of age.
He's a man of the people, Pete.
Yeah, he fought Nielsen. He stopped Nielsen. Before that, he fought the White Buffalo, Francois Botha. So, but it's 10 years on. He's getting close to 59. What does he need to prove? I don't know, but it'll be an interesting contest. Victor Belfort's 44. He's a UFC legend. Brazilian, and I mean, a guy that I want to see fight, but at 44 and a 58-year-old, tune in and see what happens on the weekend. I hope they both come out of the fight healthy. It's an 8-round fight. It's in Florida. It's been sanctioned. It's on BoxRec. But getting back to kind of like prime fighters, Anthony Joshua's fighting Alessandro Ursic. This is an interesting fight. Ursic's 6'3" and 100 kilo. He ain't a small heavyweight.
Risky fight, isn't it?
If you put Ursic in any era at 6'3" and 100 kilo, I mean, he's not that much shorter than George Foreman. So they used to call him Big George Foreman. I think Foreman was 6'3", 6'4". So we're talking about a big guy. It's just now most of the heavyweights are 6'7", 6'6", 6'9". This is for the IBF, WBA, WBO. And I have to mention the IBO. I'm going to get a call from Justin Kennedy to say I've ignored the IBO and to get lost. So I mentioned him. It's going to be in London, the 25th of September. I think it's a dangerous fight. And apparently Joshua in training has lost a stack of weight. So he thinks that his speed's going to win this fight. He doesn't need to be as strong up against what people are saying is a smaller heavyweight. But that to me is going to be very interesting. And also, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Apparently that fight's on in the 9th of October. And Hearns thinks it might not happen, but maybe he's just spreading rumours because he's not the promoter. But I don't see why that fight won't happen. I interviewed Mauricio Suleiman, and he said that fight will happen. That interview's on YouTube. So everyone's confident. A 30 and zip up against a 42-1 guy. It's had 41 knockouts. I mean, that's going to be an interesting fight because we all want to see Fury and Joshua. That's going to be the fight that we want to see. But the other thing on an international front, I mean, Taz is going to probably go over it with his Tyrade, his George Cambosis. I mean, we mentioned Cambosis in the top 10 pound-for-pound list. George has been away since March, and he's in Miami. He's been away for 6 months. Since then, his wife's given birth to kids. He's had to be away from his family and friends for 6 months. Triller's promised him a truckload of money. Lopez tests positive to COVID. Then we find out Lopez is trying to do a fight with Lomachenko to get rid of Cambosis. Then we say there's Cambosis fight for one of the vacant titles of the IBF. There's just so much undercurrent happening, and George is such a warrior. We've seen him on the road to beat Lee Selby. We've seen him on the road. He goes on the road and he wins fights, and he hasn't whinged once. And we're talking about 150,000 cases a day of COVID cases in America, and he's been there for 6 months, and he hasn't whinged once, and he's been waiting for his opportunity.
It's a big thing to remain so focused, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if Triller don't want to do it, well, then it goes back to Matchroom. They were the second 100%. In line with the bid. And then if they don't want to do it, it goes to Top Rank. Let's just get the fight on. Yeah. Obviously, it's going to be less money for Cambosis, but they do have to, compensate him for this, being on the road for 6 months. I just feel it's poor form.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate.
I agree, Pete, $1,000,000%.
Go for it. Sorry, Taz.
I just agree with everything you said. George deserves better. If Friller come in and big noted and all this money, they shouldn't have been trying to be the big dog and now do Matchroom and Bill and Top Rank. You haven't been able to cash the checks. You're big mouth. So, they're ruining the guy's career. I mean, if they don't want to do it, then get out of the game and let it go to Matchroom and professionals like Bob Arum. I I mean, it's just not right what he's going through.
All right. Well, that's the world news. Thanks, Pete. Which brings us to our first real segment of the night. Now, I think he's already had a bit of a crack at me already, Tazzy, so I'm a bit sort of scared.
You deserved it too, mate. You deserved it.
Well, especially because I was part of that era. I know I probably should have known better, shouldn't I?
I guess what, Lyndon? I don't believe you were watching boxing then. You're probably too busy running the nightclubs. You wasn't watching Bill Morty fight nights every week.
Oh, come on. Save it for the Tyrade. Well, it brings us to our next segment, and it is... Now, what this is here, I'm a little bit scared, but I'm also excited about what this brings, because what this is Tazzie's soapbox. We're gonna pull it up. He's gonna stand up on top of it. He's gonna clear his throat, and he's gonna let rip with what's on his mind in the boxing world. So the platform's yours, Tazzie. What do you got on your mind?
Well, you know what really annoys me, guys? I mean, it's hard to have the actual boxing fans that know boxing, but the average person doesn't know the ins and outs of boxing. All these bloody belts in the one organisation, the WBA. I know they're trying to clean it up recently, but you've let it go on for too long. You've got a WBA interim champion, a WBA regular champion, and then you've got a WBA super champion. I mean, you've got Lopez with a belt, Gervonta Davis with a belt, you've got Rolly Romero with a belt. There's 3 champions in the one bloody organisation. Then you got the WBC champion Devin Haney. This is lightweight, mind you. Then you got Ryan Garcia with an interim belt to that. Then you got Lopez with another IBF, which IBF is the best because they do very strict with their mandatories. Very strict. Number 1 challenger. If you got to defend it or relinquish. Then you got the WBO as well. But the WC, they've got numerous champions, silver belt, gold belt, all this crap. They're ruining boxing. They're losing all the people, like your close boxing person knows boxing. I'm confused by it all, and I've been in the game all my life. Your average fan has no idea who's the champion. You got 4 belts, and then some of these titles, you got 3 champions in each belt. It's a joke. It's all sanction fees. It's all big money. You ruin the game. You should be ashamed of yourself. Have 1 champion. That's it. WBC, WBA, IBF, that's all I want to hear about. I don't want to hear super. I don't want to hear regular. I don't want to hear interim. I don't want to hear gold, silver, or any shit. You ruin the sport. You're ashamed. All about the big bucks. That's the first thing. Another thing that grinds my gears is YouTubers and TikTokers all taking up boxing. What is a TikToker? I've got no idea. I think kids do it, yeah? My stepdaughter does it. Men shouldn't be doing TikTok and be a man. You shouldn't be in the ring anyway, in YouTubers. I reckon it's crap that people are going, oh, they're bringing new eyes to boxing. Who gives a shit, mate? Let's be a true fighter. Do your amateur career. Be a pro, not be like some celebrity boxer. It's a load of crap. They're ruining the sport. They're making more money than legends that I know. People like Justin Russell and Shannon Taylor and people that are for their life have made no money. Lyndon, you was Olympian. What money did you make in the sport? I mean, the thing is, they're ruining the bloody sport, all these TikTokers and YouTubers. I think most men today are absolutely weak and pathetic. The real men are already dead in the coffins. God help Australia. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow. Geez, you talk about... getting hit between the eyes with the first one, Peter. That was awesome, mate. I love it. So
I thought he was going to mention vaccinations there, but
no, we're sticking to boxing on this one, Pete. So
only boxing, mate. Only
boxing.
Okay.
Well, Pete.
What's a TikToker, Pete? You know what a TikToker is, Pete?
No idea.
Yeah, no, I know it's a little like a thing that they get on YouTube and stuff.
Have you ever done it? Have you ever done a TikTok, no. Pete?
Might have done a different TikTok, but not that TikTok.
All right, well, Pete, you're not off the hook either. We've got a little segment for you, and I'll just load it up here if I can get myself organised. Sorry, where are we? There it is. Weave. So in this segment, Tazzy and I are going to fire just 10 sort of questions at you, or true or false, or just little things at you. Now, you've had no heads up about this at all, have you? So no. These are all straight off the cuff. We'll take it in turn. I'm going to go first, and all we want is just very, very short answers. And as this title says, they're slip and weave, so they're going to be coming at you nice and quick. All right, I'll go first. True or false? Jake Paul is now a credible boxer.
False.
Just false. Okay. Tazzy?
So I just got to make one up, Lyndon, because I haven't got this on the list.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I can throw another one if you like.
Well,
I think I sent it to you today, but anyway.
What about best up-and-comer fighter?
Yeah.
Best up-and-comer fighter in Australia, Pete?
Dana Cornwell's good. Goodman. Sam Goodman.
Okay. True or false? Floyd Mayweather has damaged his legacy by fighting YouTubers.
True.
True. Okay. Tazzy, you got another one there? Check your list that I sent you.
Best fight to be made in Australian boxing?
Right now? Best
Yep.
fight right now.
2 Australians, yep.
Justice Huni and Mian.
Okay, yep. True or false? Isaac Hardman beats Michael Zarafa.
I go true.
True. Okay. Tazzy?
True or false? Justin Huni is a future world champion.
True.
Okay. Not too bad. And last one. True or false? Well, it's opinion really, anything. Will the Teofilo Lopez-George Cambosis fight actually happen?
Yes.
Okay. I think that was...
True or false?
Yep.
True or false? Should Manny Pacquiao retire?
One last farewell fight for his fans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Manny.
I agree.
I think Manny showed enough that he can hang with any welterweight, especially, that was a good competitive fight against Ugas. Ugas is a very hard fighter to beat. Bronze medalist, avoided guy. I mean, his fight with Sean Porter, I thought he beat Porter. So, and Porter's a nightmare. So I thought Manny took a fight that was very high risk, low reward, and that's just the type of guy he is. So I think he deserves one last fight to go out on his own terms.
Yeah.
And knowing Manny, he will have one last fight. The same will be in January in the Philippines. So let's wait and see. Stay tuned.
All right. Well, I'm not going to let you guys have all the glory and have your own segments because I've actually got my own. And I've called it. If I can get it up here. Where are we? My mouse is not working there. Hang on, boys. Is it coming up there? No. What do we got? There it is. Lyndon's talking point. All right. So what this is I've just got a subject or a topic, just a quick one, and we'll have a quick little discussion / debate about what you guys think. And tonight's, or our first one, the topic is Floyd Mayweather beats Manny Pacquiao regardless of whenever they fought. All right. So Tazzy, I'm going to let you have the first crack, and then I'm going to let Pete have the crack. So Floyd Mayweather beats Manny Pacquiao no matter when they fought.
He beats him 10 out of 10 and twice on Sunday. He beats him 365 days in a year, even in a leap year. Styles make fights. He's too slick. He's too good a counterpuncher. Marquez gave Pacquiao fits, and he was a smaller guy and not known for being the big puncher, even though he knocked him out. Floyd is a million times better than he's like a supercharged Marquez with a bit more power, more speed, more movement, especially a young prime Floyd. He beats him all day, every day. Manny never beats him, even if he's got COVID. Floyd is sick in bed.
Jeez. Okay. Pete, your rebuttal?
Yeah, look, Floyd's a great fighter, great defensive fighter, and he's got everything in the book. But the Manny Pacquiao that stopped De La Hoya, ruined Cotto, knocked out Hatton, Margarito, damaged Margarito. I just think it'd be too much for Floyd. He'd make Floyd fight. He'd be punching with too many angles. And we've seen Floyd hurt in fights. We saw him in the Castillo fight. He struggled. We saw him with Zab Judah. There was times when Zab Judah made Maidana made Floyd look bad. You know, I mean, it's just, there were times when Floyd did have to look, you know, really uncomfortable. And when he did, even with Mosey, when Mosey clocked him a few times and he kind of got the wobbles, he looked vulnerable. Now, you get a guy like Manny Pacquiao at his peak. I mean, it's like fighting three men. De La Hoya will tell you that. De La Hoya said he's the best fighter he's ever fought, and De La Hoya's fought both block guys. So if you want to argue with De La Hoya, you've done more than De La Hoya, who's faced both of them, go ahead. But De La Hoya faced both of them, basically at their best, and he said that Manny Pacquiao's the best fighter he's ever fought. So
Oscar hates Floyd. Oscar's jealous of Floyd and hates Floyd personally. They go bitter way back. He doesn't like Floyd, where he likes Manny. I mean, and Manny's probably a better person than Floyd. You know, this isn't personal, but I think that's why Oscar said that, not so much. And you pointed out, Pete, the fights that made Floyd look bad. Well, Morales' first win over him. Marquez's fights made Manny look bad. Bradley's win over him made him look bad. You know, Jeff Horn, who's shouldn't even be in the conversation with these guys. No disrespect to him, but I mean, like, you know, there's plenty of guys that made Manny look bad as well. You know, even Skinny Hussein dropped him, and Skinny Hussein, you know, he's a fighter, but I mean, you know.
When Manny destroyed Morales in 3 rounds, they said, that's it for Morales, he's shot, Manny's killed him. Well, guess what? That same Morales moved up to 140 and won a WBC super late world title, the same one Kostya won. He also gave Maidana a massive fight, majority decision. He gave Garcia nightmares. This is the same guy that everyone said was shot once Manny blew him out in 3 rounds. Now, come on, Tazzy, please.
Geez, I think we've got a Pete's tirade going on here. I love it. It's awesome.
But it's facts. Go into it. It's facts. I know what I'm talking.
Mate,
listen,
boys.
With everyone around the world. Look, Floyd is the best managed fighter in the world, and he's the best defensive fighter in the world. I've got no doubt about that. One of the best.
Who won when they fought?
Who won the fight?
Who won the fight when they fought?
I'll tell you who won the fight. Management did, because that fight never happened in 09, it never happened in 10, and it never happened in 11.
Still happened.
Floyd done
Manny
what
still
he had to do, what he always does. He waited to see results, Peter.
Short shoulder.
And then,
short shoulder.
Look, since Manny lost to Marquez in that knockout, he hasn't been, he lost a little bit in that ring. In 14, he wasn't the fighter he was between 8 and 10 and 11 in that 3 or 4 year tirade. Everyone knows that. So, Manny,
I'm gonna say, you go, Pete. You go. I'm going to say something about Manny. I love him, respect him. I respect Manny. Every time he loses, there's an excuse. Every time he loses, there's an excuse. Strength and conditioning guy, Freddie's fault, Justin Fortune's fault, cramps in the calves. Every time he's ripped off against Horn, they reckon, Bradley ripped off. There's always an excuse when he loses. Always.
No, Jeff Horn won that. He won that, and he won that.
That's what they said. They didn't say that.
Jeff
they complained.
Out of his skin, but Manny was 38 years of age. He wasn't, but you can't take any away from Jeff, because after that fight, Manny went on to beat Broner, knocks out Matisse, beats Thurman, who was undefeated. He went on and still had a little resurgence of his career, but getting back
Thurman
to...
was amazing.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, I'm going to ring the bell here, boys. I might have to put a time limit on next week, but I think, talking about a talking point, I think it definitely had the desired effect. So, look, I just...
He got what he wanted, Peter. He got what he wanted. He's been wanting for this to happen.
All I'll say is, how good would it have been to have a 2009 Mayweather-Pacquiao fight? They were just both at the peak then. I think it would have been unbelievable. But enough of that. Let's get into our last segment. And this is, I haven't even told you guys about this. There's a little bit of fun thing we'll have at the end just to finish up, and we'll keep you with tabs. It is the boxing deep dive quiz. There's Tazzy and Peter there, who's got the current belt. All right, so it's on. Tazzy versus Pete. All right. Just take a deep breath, boys, and we're going to have a little bit of fun to finish off.
I need a drink or something.
Tazzy's come out firing tonight. He's had a crack at all of us. So I'm surprised he didn't have a crack at Glenn about something. But anyway, We're right, so we'll keep the count here, guys. So all I want you to do is maybe just say your name or even raise your hand quickly to see who gets in first, or even if you just want to spit it out. Maybe we'll just have it first one to spit it out gets the chocolates, all right? So we've got 10 questions. We've got 9 questions and then a who am I at the end, okay? So we'll start off a little bit easier and get a little bit harder, but they're all should be very, very manageable questions to answer. So, number 1, we'll start with a bit of an Aussie flavour for starters. Here we go. Well, actually, what did we decide on here? We're going to spit the name out, or we're going to raise our hand, or...
I think just spit the name
Spit
out.
it
That
out.
way you
All
can
right.
hear the first one, yeah.
Here we go. What year did Jeff Fennick beat Victor Callejas?
88.
Yes, one for
84.
Pete. Yeah, for the WBC featherweight title in the 10th round it was. So 1 to Pete. In what venue, so not location, what venue did Costa Tszyu defeat Jake Rodriguez to win the IBF junior welterweight title?
Sydney Entertainment Centre. Sydney Entertainment Centre.
No. One crack at it.
Newcastle.
No, it was at the MGM Grand, 1995. It was Costa's first
Oh, that's
world
right.
title.
He went to America. Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
That was a trick. That was a trick question, Pete. Lyndon, a
Well, it was
trick
an Aussie
question.
flavour. He just fought at the MGM. I think it was one of the
Yeah,
first
but you're
fights.
saying Australia, then you're saying America. Okay,
Well,
okay.
Australian boxer. All right. So,
Okay.
all right. In what Olympics did Spike Sheeny win a silver medal?
Seoul,
88.
1988.
Yeah, I think Pete's just got in there.
First.
You got that first,
Who?
Regan?
I got it first. Bullshit. I got it first.
All right. Well, let's call it 1-1.
1-1.
Jeez. All right. I'm just not in the mood to argue with him tonight. Pete, he's on a bit of a rampage tonight.
No
Let's.
jab.
All right. All right. Here we go. This is a pretty hard one. I'll be interested to see whether you get this one. Who was Anthony Mundine's first professional opponent?
Zos.
George
Zos.
Oz.
Well, Pete got in there first. What was the result,
Fair enough.
Pete?
Fair enough.
Can you remember?
T-
Fair call.
TKO third round.
Nah, 4th round, but very close.
4th round. Okay.
Very
Fair
impressive.
call.
I wouldn't have known that. Number 5. Actually, I think, what is that? We're 3-1, or is it? 2-1.
2-1.
2-1. 2-1 for Pete.
We both didn't get the Costa Tszyu Jake
That's
Rodriguez.
right.
We both
So
didn't get it.
two for Pete, 1 to Tazzy. Number 5. In what year did Manny Pacquiao turn pro?
1995.
Good call, Pete. I probably shouldn't have thrown in a Manny question there. Sorry.
That's a stitch. That's a stitch up, Lyndon.
I did- hey,
That's
I-
a stitch up, mate.
I had Costa and
That's a
Anthony Mundine in there. All right, this is up your alley, Tazzy. Here we go. Number 6. We're going international. Well, another international question. Who did Thomas Hearns defeat to win the WBC Super Welterweight title?
Wilfredo Benitez.
Yep, good call. Wilfred Benitez, 1982, I think it was. He beat Wilfred Benitez. So what's that? 3-2 in Pete's favour.
Yes.
Number 7. Who gave Pernell Whitaker his first loss as a professional?
Chavez.
Mexican.
Need more than that. First loss, very disputed. 3, 2,
Yep.
1.
Hernandez.
Jose
Rodriguez.
Luis Ramirez beat Pernell Whitaker in a very hotly disputed 12-round decision. So is it still 3-2?
In France.
Yeah, it
was
was
in
actually.
France.
Strange place to have that fight, wasn't it? A Mexican and American in
Does
France.
that count? That I knew where it was? Does that count or not? Do I get a
Nah,
half a
sorry,
point?
mate. I might put that in next week. So 3-2. All right, this is well, semi-hard, I suppose. Who did Donald Curry, do we all remember Donald the Cobra, Lone Star Cobra Curry? Who did Donald Curry beat to unify the world welterweight title in 1985?
Melrick Taylor.
No. 5,
Mark Breland.
4, 3, 2, 1. Nah, Milton McCrory.
Yeah.
1985. It was probably the biggest welterweight unification fight since Leonard and Hearns it was. So it was for WBA, WBC and IBF back then. All right, last of the regular questions. Still 3-2. What junior welterweight world champion was known as the Hawk?
Aaron Pryor.
Yes. Good call. Aaron Pryor, the Hawk.
3-3, baby. 3-3.
So 3-3 goes to the tiebreaker.
Coming for you, Pete.
All right, last one, guys. Who am I? All right.
Tazzy Brown.
Tazzy Brown. Yep, we got one right there. All right, here we go. I was born in 1965 in London, England. But my hometown was Sydney, Australia. I turned pro. Sorry, mate. Did you say something? No, hang on. Turned pro. Sorry, Tazzy, I can't hear you there.
Joe Bugner?
No. I think he was fighting in 1965 when he was born. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I'll give you one more crack. I turned pro in 1984.
I already know who it is, but I'm going to wait for all the information.
Okay.
But I
After
already know who it
losing
is.
to a future world champion in my 6th pro fight, I won the Commonwealth title 3 fights later. I lost my first attempt at a world title in 1989. In 1993, I was involved in the round of the year in a second losing
Troy
world.
Waters.
Yeah, Troy Waters. I'll finish off the late great Troy Waters. I'll finish it off there. So 1993, round of the year in his second losing world title attempt. He had one more attempt at a world title, losing by majority decision in 1994. Unfortunately, in 2014, he was diagnosed with leukemia and tragically passed away in 2018, aged just 53. So Troy Waters, Vale to Troy, another unheralded legend of Australian boxing. So I thought I'd do him the honour of being our first Who Am I? So I think that means, Pete.
I want a rematch.
Hey, well, next week, mate,
4-2. I want a rematch.
we'll be back for round 2. So yeah, a little bit of fun there to finish off there, guys. But yeah, so that's
a few
that's
set-up
about
questions, in my opinion. Anyway,
it. Too hard were they, or?
a few set-up questions, in my opinion. No, a few set-up ones for Pete, I think.
But hang on, mate. I gave you a Costa Tszyu question. I gave you an Anthony Bourdain question, and I gave you a Thomas Hearns and a Pernell Whitaker question. They're all in your top 10 of all time. Anyway, all right. But nah, great.
I had the Whitaker guy. I just couldn't get the name out.
There's always next week, mate. But no, look, really appreciate you guys being on tonight. I think we've had a little bit of fun. It'll be interesting to hear what the
It was fun.
the feedback is. We'll tinker with the show, but we just really want to, obviously, with the latest news and current affairs and interviews and that sort of stuff, just bring a little bit of a lightheartedness to the boxing world. And as I said, really keen to get some feedback about maybe what we can add and maybe take out. More importantly, maybe.
Well, I know.
Go ahead, Pete.
Go, Pete.
No, I was going to say, when's the next one, Lyndon? Is it Tuesday or Sunday?
No, it'll be. We'll do this every Thursday. We'll put this up. This won't be on Thursday. It'll be more like on the Friday night. But next week we'll probably do it live. Probably just really wanted to see how we stacked up. But I really like to do it live on a Thursday night. So hopefully we can get a little bit of interaction from the people out there and as I said before, get some feedback on how to make the show better. But just a bit of lightheartedness and a bit of fun is on top of the usual current affairs and all that sort of stuff in the boxing world.
When do we
I'll lock
get
in
back
next.
on?
Go ahead, Pete.
So when do we lock in the next one? Next Tuesday?
Yep, for sure.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
And then we go Tuesday and Thursday.
Yep.
Pete's got your Pete's picking his fight of the fantasy fight and legendary fight.
Yeah, we've got De La Hoya and Costa Tszyu.
Yep.
Oh my God, no! Don't do that, one, Pete. Fucking
So that's the dream fight. Yeah, so that's
the
next week's
dream
dream
fight.
fight. Costa Tszyu versus
And-
Oscar De La
and
Hoya
we've
and the
got
classic fight.
Hearns and Hagler.
Hearns Hagler. Beautiful. Okay.
I'll get a guest for next week, Lyndon.
Beautiful.
And I just want to mention, boys. Look, I think after me mentioning and talking about Manny tonight, I don't think I'll be going to the Philippines anytime soon because I think I'll get shot dead over there.
It's all in fun. I've got to walk down the street after shunning all the Aussie boxers. So anyway, but I really thought it was a lot of fun tonight, boys.
I enjoyed tonight. That was fun, boys. Well done.
Good stuff, guys. All right, well, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining in, and hope to see you then.
See you,
guys.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.